go.
I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about failure when it comes to business.
No,
because I feel like
everything's a lesson.
Exactly, and I feel like there is going to be
a necessity.
Exactly.
I think there's always, I don't know. I know a lot of important people have always talked about this, but I think very few entrepreneurs hit it on their first go. And I think the failures are what really, I think, not just keep you grounded, but what give you the right experience, because these are just all things that can never be taught, period. Like I'm someone who has to learn the hard way constantly. And through learning the hard way, you learn. And you avoid that, and you grow from that, and you evolve from that, and you do things differently the next time. And so for me, 100%, my brand now is so strategic on all levels. And that's all thanks to my first experience, of course. Again, for better or for worse, I think with failures come trauma as well that you also need to shed and evolve from. So it's all, every day is a learning experience. Every day is super humbling. I think entrepreneurial, there's zero chill in being an entrepreneur. There's whatever minor wins you get are super fleeting. I think that's what keeps you grounded and keeps you hungry, because there's just no other option. Obviously, there's zero chill in any business, especially in today's environment and landscape. I mean, everything is so challenging.
Yes.
On every single front. It's just you got to keep pushing and evolving.
What is the takeaway from Toro, right? And obviously it's gone now, and you have a founder who's coming up to you who wants to get in this world that you're in, which you told me before this whole thing started. This is a cutthroat industry.
Yeah,
right?
I think there's no industries or work that's easy per se.
Exactly.
That's called vacation. Which is the goal. Even vacations sometimes aren't easy because they can be expensive.
True.
But I think, listen, I think anyone who's in any respective industry is going to tell you their industry is the hardest. They're all hard. Work is all hard. It's not intended to be fun. Obviously, no pain, no gain couldn't ring truer. But I think, to me, coming from a biased perspective, of course, fashion and retail, especially today, is one of the most challenging industries. I would compare it to, and the reason we were talking about, you told me your brother was a chef. I love, and I'm truly inspired by a lot of my different restaurateur buddies, and reading No Reservation by Anthony Bourdain.
Bourdain guy.
Yeah, I love Anthony Bourdain. Like I said, I'm a big foodie, but I think that really put it in perspective, reading that book and really understanding why I was drawn to so many of my restaurateur friends, but also just the respect of that industry, the flawlessness required in not just a unique, cool concept, but then the execution of it, then the maintenance of it, and just the level. I always tell my team, the notion of running the business like a Michelin star restaurant is the most challenging concept. To think that every single detail, every single plate, every single ingredient has to be executed on a flawless nature, day in, day out, is insane. Yeah. And I think Bourdain painted that picture in such an incredible raw way.
Yes.
That put it into perspective. And Simon Kim's one of my close buddies, and I'm always he's really a general, because I think just the ops side of restaurants, you can have an incredible food concept, best restaurant ever. He did a podcast recently that was really cool, and he spoke about hot restaurants, why they fail. And he related it to a balloon, and he's like, hot restaurants rise and they pop. So one of the biggest concepts of entrepreneurship, I think that's also why, he had an incredible concept called Pura, which is a Michelin star restaurant, and that failed. And that led him within a year to open a new restaurant and get another Michelin star, which is insane. But I think that too is indicative of the failures that fuel you to really reapproach and lock in and recalibrate on high levels. But he was just saying, which is indicative of everything, the humility necessary. In all industries, humility is key. Ego should never get in your way. That you have to put your clients first, your team first. As soon as your ego and you thinking you're hot gets in your way, which certainly it did in my youth. I thought I was a really cocky son of a bitch with Del Toro, and I thought it was the coolest guy ever, and that is so fleeting. And I went from being Matt Del Toro to just being Matt, to people disregarding me, and from everyone, which is an incredible, like, I think everyone has to go through those humbling notions, because, like, again, everything is fleeting. Like, at one point someone puts you on a pedestal, at the next moment they don't even blink an eye at you. And that's awesome, because it goes to show, who's real in your life. And it goes to show that, like, you need to build your life around true things, real things, and things that bring you purpose and satisfaction, and not fleeting elements, like Simon said. Like, you don't need to be a hot air balloon, or, because those things pop inevitably and guaranteed. And so structuring your life, your business, your relationships around realness, like I said, to me, integrity is a very strong mantra. Like I said, that's why Japan and Italy are so dear to me and so inspirational. I think integrity is regarded so much so in those cultures, that I think there's definitely a lack thereof integrity with the social media generation that we live in. I think integrity is incredibly crucial in all elements of entrepreneurship, especially, like I said, a very long-winded answer to talking about industries and them being difficult, but fashion retail is incredibly challenging. I would say the only one arguably more challenging with higher failure rates is restaurateur life. Whatever it is, at 90+% fail. Yeah. I think now also, though, in retail, it's so challenging, not just because it is challenging, but I think all industries, we're living this era of conglomerates, and being an independent is so beyond challenging, especially in my field. Like, there's really little to no independence. There's no wholesalers. Back in the day with Del Toro, in my early 20s, I was able to bootstrap and leverage and grow thanks to the Saxes, the Barneys, the Neiman's, the Nordstroms, and then all the other boutiques to follow. All those are literally going out of business. One after, we saw Essence owes $95 million to brands as of recently. And, Saks has gone through their troubles. Unfortunately, to me, a lot of everything changed with the demise of Barney's. I'm sure you, as a New Yorker, and all New Yorkers, understood the power and aura that Barney's represented. Yeah. And to me, when Barney's fell in 2019, that was like the beginning of the end of wholesale, which was a lot more than just a shopping experience. It was the incubator to small brands, to creatives.
I thought it was wild to see, like, Saks on Amazon, dude. That, like, blew my mind. It almost seemed like high end was taking, like, a major, like. What did you think about that?
I mean, again, Saks was my biggest client at Del Toro, and they were incredible to me at the time. I don't work with Saks now. I told myself that I wouldn't work with any wholesalers when I restarted, because part of my premise was protecting pricing and really respecting pricing strategy. I think also part of retail is in a state of disarray, really because the discounting model, like this notion of sales, has eroded the integrity of retail, and people, it's a drug, literally, from brands to consumers. If there's not a stack of discounts, no one's incentivized to buy.
That's interesting.
And so back to Saks being on Amazon is that it's the sale notion of everything, but everything's clusterfucked all across the board. And like I said, the discounting model is sad, but the demise of retail and wholesale is sad, because especially I sit there and I ask myself, like, why is it so hard right now? Right. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. You have to find your way. There's no excuse to that. That's part of, obviously, the bootstrap notion. But without retail and without wholesale, as an independent, but the good notion of that is that there's no competition. So there's obviously silver lining in everything. But the challenge is that it's challenging when you're fighting for space in retail environments like Design District, which Craig Robbins and family and DACRA has been incredibly supportive of my vision, etc. So I'm super blessed at that. But in fighting for retail space next to Louis Vuitton's and the LVMH conglomerate arm, to the digital marketing space, to then that's just the more back end business side, to then vying for customers' attention and limited dollars, it's all challenging.